Okay, hello there everybody, Silver Soul 1K. I'm continuing with my reading of as much as I can of When Friendship Dies by StrawberryDashie. Okay, chapter 14, Not Right. Author's note. So I've decided to be like regular authors on here and just go ahead and update when I have a new chapter, so I'm putting everything I've written up, and I'll just put up more when I get there. That way I don't feel bad for not uploading when I already have it done. So here's chapter 14. Hope you like it, and thank you everyone for the reviews. Keep them coming. I read them all. Oh, and by the way, this chapter heads more into the T rating, so if you're a young kid, you probably don't want to read it. It's not that bad, I guess. You never know. It's never too but you never know. But you know, never too safe. Okay. Yeah. I'm not intimidated. So here we go. The rain had slowly calmed until it was just drops falling every so often from the dark sky. Fluttershy's eyes opened as she heard a door opening. Peeking her head out of the damp box, she saw a large unicorn with a chef hat exiting at the back of what appeared to be a restaurant. She put her head back in the box, coughing. Her head ached terribly, and she felt stiff and cold, even with the coat. Her wing and back leg both hurt more than yesterday, and when she left the box after the unicorn went back inside, she found that she had a limp, and it was unlikely she'd be able to fly at all. And the Pegasus's stomach... Oh, no, it is Pegasus's. Okay, sorry. The Pegasus's stomach growled angrily, and she sighed. Starving. She knew she had no money, and no pony to go to except Jasmine, and Fluttershy felt like she had taken enough from her. Coughing, she slowly limped down the alley, the element of magic in hoof, and suddenly smelled something resembling food. Turning, she went back to a trash can outside the restaurant and frowned. Fluttershy, really, you're not that hungry. You can go a bit longer, she told herself, trying to turn away, but finding that her stomach had won over her mind, and she was taking off the lid of the trash can, looking inside. Oh, she said, surprised. Inside lay some dead daisies and a container with a liquid in it. She pulled them out and set them down in front of her. Yum, she sighed, flipping off the lid to the container. It looked like very runny gravy. Take what you're given, Fluttershy. Be thankful you have anything at all, she muttered, reaching down and dripping a daisy into the gravy. She took a bite and gagged, but finished her delicious breakfast off in a few minutes. After the meal, she got out of the alley and headed toward the main road out of town. Then realized if she couldn't fly, she'd have to walk the whole way. She squeezed her eyes shut as she imagined the pain in her leg would give her, but she kept walking, eventually landing herself on the wrong road, confused. She said, sitting down. Her stomach didn't feel well, and she felt like she had a cold. Her eyes closed as she felt something travel up her throat, and up came her breakfast, all over the ground. Oh, Fluttershy, now look what you've done. Disgusted, she got to her hooves and limped away, hoping no one had noticed. Her head hanging, she continued along the road, wondering if there was any way she could get back home to the others. Actually, she wasn't very excited to get back. Her worries about this trip had come true. Twilight didn't want them anymore. She didn't need them. She had forgotten about them. They had been replaced. All those thoughts ran through her head as she headed, unknowingly, straight into a train station. Oh, excuse me, Fluttershy said, looking up and lowering her ears as she bumped into a light green unicorn. I didn't see you. The unicorn turned, revealing kind lavender eyes. That's quite all right. Hey, aren't you the mare I met yesterday? Fluttershy gasped, smiling. Oh, yes, you're... She stopped to cough. Jasmine, thanks again for the coat and umbrella. I'm sorry, I lost the umbrella in the storm, but here's the coat, and I'll pay you for the umbrella when I can, she said hurriedly, taking off the coat. No, you keep it. It's okay. Did you find your friend? Yeah, I did. Fluttershy coughed, looking away. Not how I expected it to go. Oh, I'm sorry. You look pretty torn up. Are you okay? Yeah, just fine, she said quietly, looking back at her, smiling. Do you need me to help you do you need me to get you anything? I can buy you a train ticket to where you need to go, Jasmine asked, walking up to the ticket counter. I really want to help you. You've helped me enough. I can't take your money. You're not taking it if I'm giving it to you, Jasmine pointed out, turning to the board with the names of trains and towns. Where are you from? I can't let you pay for a ticket for me. I'm serious, Fluttershy said, trying to use her assertiveness. No means no, and I said no. Come on, I'm already paying for one. There's a discount if you buy two. If you let me buy it, you're actually saving me money. You'd be helping me. Consider it paying me back for the umbrella. Fluttershy frowned and hung her head, scuffing the ground with her front hoof. But you're still paying for some of it, and you... Hey, I don't care, Jasmine laughed, placing a hoof on Fluttershy's shoulder. How else will you get where you're trying to go? I can see the way you limp, and your wing looks broken. You look sick, too. I can hear your stomach growling. There's no way you can get back alone. Fluttershy sighed. You're not going to go until I say yes, are you? That's right, Jasmine grinned. Okay. If it means so much to you, of course I'll say yes, she said, hopping up to the counter. I need to go to Ponyville. Sure thing, Jasmine smiled, ordering 2 tickets there. I'm really happy to be helping you. I can't thank you enough, Fluttershy smiled. Thank you. You're welcome, Jasmine interrupted, grabbing the tickets and heading toward the train waiting outside. Sparkle woke up to the smell of breakfast cooking. She smiled and jumped up, then realized where she was. Why am I in this room? Don't the girls need me? You were sleeping. Nothing else to it. Oh, she said to herself. Of course. She trotted out into the hall and poked her head into the guest room, finding the others had left. I wonder if they thought I had disappeared. Sparkle, stop acting like an airhead and asking questions. If they left, they left. You don't care. Now go ahead and get all pretty and go down to breakfast. Sparkle obeyed the voice and trotted into Luna's room, and for a moment she had a brief memory, but it was too quick to make out what it was of. She picked up a light pink hoodie and a white skirt, and then trotted downstairs, her nose in the air. Good morning, Twilight Sparkle, Princess Celestia said, passing her in the hall. Whatever, Twilight Sparkle said, giving her a funny look and continuing on. Celestia paused to stare after her and thought a moment, then kept walking. Sparkle made her way to the dining room and smiled when she saw the other girls sitting, waiting for her to enter before eating. Good morning, most of them said, jumping up and walking over to her. They were all wearing similar outfits. Yours is better. You are better than them. Hi, Sparkle said, looking away, her nose in the air as if she didn't care if they were there or not. Where's my breakfast? Oh, it's not here yet. We didn't know what you wanted, so... Lyra explained hurriedly, but she was shushed by Sparkle. Everyone knows I like eggs, she said, taking a seat. How could you not know that I like eggs? We're sorry, Sparkle. We'll get them right away. Lyra and Moondancer took off, but Minuet stayed behind, staring at Sparkle. Well, aren't you going to serve me too? Sparkle asked, staring back. Something's not right here, Minuet thought as she slowly walked towards the other unicorns who were trying to get the cooks to make the eggs faster. Rainbow Dash, honestly, you need to calm down, Rarity said, relaxing under a tree with a coconut in her hoof. I'm sure Fluttershy's fine. She's probably only gone a bit ahead to check out the scene and maybe find food or shelter. Calm down? You're telling me to calm down? No, Rarity, I can't. Maybe if your Highness got up off her flank and looked around, she'd see that this is a weird, haunted, creepy, cursed forest, where anything could happen to a small, terrified Pegasus. I thought you were best friends, but you don't even care, Rainbow shouted, ending her flight and stopping right in front of the unicorn's face. Now, Rainbow, that's a little harsh, don't you? Applejack started, lowering her ears. No, it's perfectly okay. I don't mind Rainbow flapping her fat mouth so much as the whole forest will hear. So much that the whole forest will hear, and probably awake some beast. Rarity glared, putting a hoof forward and narrowing her eyes. So you do agree that this forest is dangerous? Well, of course I do. But unlike you, I know Fluttershy, and I know she would not willingly run out into trouble. Don't tell me I don't know Fluttershy. I'll have you know that I... Girls! Pinkie Pie yelled. Why are we fighting? You know what we should do? We should find Fluttershy! The stress was getting to all of them, especially Pinkie Pie. She had never lost a friend before, and it was very hard on her. In fact, her mane was starting to straighten. Pinkie's right. We can't start fighting amongst ourselves if we want to find Fluttershy and save Twilight. We have to work together, trust each other, and never lose hope. Before we get into any more trouble than we're already in, let's find Fluttershy. Applejack paused, calmly, and then we can continue our search for Twilight. Hopefully, when Fluttershy was found, they wouldn't have to search for their lost friend anymore, Applejack thought. Fluttershy's troubles weren't as heavy now that she had a way to get back to the others. The train was much warmer than a cold, wet box, and her headache was starting to go away. She was laying on a... excuse me. She was laying on a pillow by the window, staring out sadly. Even with a way back, she still had the problem of Twilight. Reaching into the coat, she pulled out the element and set it in front of her, staring intently at it. She grabbed a blanket folded up beside her and rubbed at the star on it, making the dust vanish and the crown glimmer. Hey, Jasmine's voice said. Fluttershy looked up, frowning, then back to the element. Hello? She said quietly, placing the element back in the coat. What was that? Jasmine asked, staring at the thing sticking out. Oh, just something of Twilight's, that's all, Fluttershy explained quickly, laying her head on her front hooves. I could have sworn I've seen that before. I was almost sure I've seen you before, Jasmine thought out loud. Fluttershy, Twilight Sparkle, Crown Thing, Celestia... Fluttershy waited for her to figure it out, closing her eyes and slowly drifting into a nice, warm nap. When Fluttershy woke, she realized she wasn't at home in a nice cottage. In fact, she was on a train that was shaking violently. What's going on? She said, getting to her hooves sleepily. Whoa! She said, almost tumbling back into the seat. Okay, sorry, I just had to look at who that was. Fluttershy! A voice called out, and she looked up, her front hoof setting her. Hello? She responded, moving forward a few hoof steps before being shook and thrown to the floor. She landed on the side with the element of magic and screamed, feeling it dig into her ribs. Fluttershy, are you okay? The voice shouted, and she squeaked in response. Finally, a pony ran into the train car. She looked up frantically and gasped, Princess Luna? The dark alicorn walked close to the Pegasus, helping her to her feet. Yes. Yeah, it's Yeah, it just sounds weird that way. Sorry. Yes, it is me, she smiled. You don't look too good. Fluttershy went red and looked at herself. Her hair needed a good brushing, her wings were limp, and the bones looked off in her, and her back leg was bruised terribly, and she was a bit pale. I'm not having the best trip. I can tell. What are you doing here? Luna asked, letting Fluttershy lean against her. I could ask you the same, Fluttershy said. Let's get out of here first, then we can talk. If we don't get out, we'll die. Come on, the princess told her, trying to fly, but finding there was no way that Fluttershy could keep up. She was trying, but was failing, even with the belief that if she didn't hurry, she'd die. This isn't gonna work. She suddenly straightened herself up and lifted her head. Oh, sorry, that was Luna. This isn't going to work. She suddenly straightened herself up and lifted her head into the air, her horns starting to glow. "What's going on?" Fluttershy felt slightly tingly and squeezed her eyes shut, and then found herself on Luna's back. "Sorry, you weren't supposed to feel anything. I'm out of practice, and it's harder to levitate ponies when I'm used to paper and books," Luna apologized, using her magic to open the top exit, then unfolded her wings and flew at the top. Fluttershy clung on and looked back to see the train car rapidly heading towards a cliff, having lost control. She tightened her grip and looked away, up at the sky where the sun became blocked out by a dark cloud. Something wasn't right. Minuet lowered her ears as she stood behind the other unicorns, being yelled at by Sparkle. They were frantically running back and forth, getting her the thing she demanded. "Can you believe them?" Twinkle scoffed, looking at Minuet, treating her like a goddess. "You're just mad because they're not treating you like that." "You're just mad because they're not treating you like that now," Minuet smirked, turning to her. Twinkle looked at her with such an intense glare she couldn't help but laugh. "I'm serious, Minuet. This is a real problem," Twinkle said, looking away and aiming daggers at Sparkle. "She's going to be more popular than me. That can't happen. We need to have a talk." "A talk?" Minuet said, staring at the ground. She had never liked talks. Everyone got yelled at, and it usually ended up in some pony leaving their group, crying. "Yes, a talk," Twinkle said, flipping her mane and trotting out of the room, her nose in the air. Minuet frowned, glancing at the others once more before following their leader out into the hall. Sparkle flipped her mane and got to her hooves, heading toward the door. "Well, aren't you guys coming?" Twinkle stood beside Minuet at the arch leading into the hall that would take them into the guest room. She was gesturing for Moondancer and Lyra to join her, but Sparkle had caught her doing it. She narrowed her eyes, and they glared at each other. Sparkle scoffed. "Guys, I thought we were going shopping." "I need to talk to them," Twinkle said angrily. "Alone." Sparkle rolled her eyes and laughed. "Okay, whatever. If you two want to be losers and go join her, be my guest. But I'm going shopping for new clothes that will look so much better than those rags she's wearing." Twinkle started twitching, furious. Minuet put a hoof on her shoulder to calm her down, but it was no use. Twinkle had ran forward to tackle Sparkle to the ground, biting her mane and pulling on it. The two rolled around, screaming and kicking, while the other three stood back in horror. Minuet looked away and lowered her ears. "What do we do?" Lyra asked fearfully, stepping out of their way as they came close to her. "Hold on, I'll fix this," Moondancer said. She looked to Minuet and nodded, and they both aimed their horns at the two fighting. Their horns started to glow with white magic, and soon Sparkle was thrown backwards, along with Twinkle. They landed on opposite sides of the room. "Whoa, where'd you learn that one?" Lyra asked, excited. "Maybe if you didn't sleep all the time in class, you'd know we learned it last week," Minuet giggled. Then Moondancer prodded her with a hoof. "What?" "Look," Moondancer said quietly, nodding towards Sparkle, who was getting up, glaring. Twinkle jumped to her hooves and ran towards her again, and Lyra sighed. "Not again. How many times are they going to do this? It's a popularity contest, don't you see? Whoever wins gets to keep us three." Minuet explained. "You mean we're just some prize to be won?" Lyra said sadly, her ears lowering. "I've always thought I was more of a leader." "I've tried it. It just makes Twinkle hate you. Better to be second best, but somewhat appreciated by Twinkle, than be hated by everyone because you aren't her friend." Moondancer frowned, looking at her hooves. "What is Sparkle doing?" Minuet questioned, staring intently at the purple unicorn, who was focusing hard as Twilight jumped over the table and galloped toward her. Her horn was glowing with a dark red, and a large circle appeared around her. Twinkle didn't care, still running towards her, not knowing what it was. "Think that little bubble will protect you?" As she ran into it, she screamed and fell backwards, burns all over her face and hooves where she had touched it. "That's some force field," Minuet shrieked, running to Twinkle's side. "Are you okay?" Yes, I'm fine. Go away. I can fight her by myself." "Why do we even have to fight her in the first place?" Lyra shouted so everyone could hear her. Twinkle scrambled to her hooves and glared at Sparkle. Twilight over here is being, yeah, okay. I don't know how to read this, because it's obviously bitch, but it's got the little asterisk there, so I'm just gonna say bitch. Twilight over here is being a bitch, Twinkle yelled. Don't call me Twilight! Sparkle exclaimed, rising up into the air, the bubble following her. I'm nothing like her. I'm not her. She's the old me. She's a stupid, no-good, miserable pony who can't take care of herself. Don't call me Twilight! What are you gonna do about it? Twinkle sneered, staring up at her. You're too much of a wimp to stop hiding in your protective bubble. Wimp? Sparkle exclaimed, dropping down to the ground again. Wimp? You are going to regret saying that. The bubble disappeared in one pop, and Twinkle was already aiming her horn at her. Minwet turned to the others, and they gave her looks of terror. Moondancer, go get Princess Celestia. Moondancer nodded at the demand and turned, galloping out of the room, a determined look on her face. Lyra, you hold back Twinkle. I'll get Sparkle. They both ran toward them, but Sparkle turned to glare, casting a ring of high flames around herself and Twinkle, so they wouldn't interfere. Oh, you silly unicorns! Sparkle laughed. Of course you wouldn't understand. But you can't interrupt us. This is very important. Why? So you can steal us from Twinkle? Lyra cried, still sensitive on the topic. I wasn't aware that you belonged to her. Don't you think you deserve better? Sparkle asked politely, quickly glancing back to deflect a spell Twinkle cast. I think you should be treated equally. You're just as good as her. Better than her, in fact. Somehow, I don't think you'd treat them that way. Twinkle shouted, firing another spell. She caught Sparkle off guard and hit her with a strong wave of magic, throwing her against the floor and sliding her away from Twinkle. Oh, Twinkle, that was a pretty powerful spell. But you're not as powerful as me. Sparkle laughed, levitating herself, using her magic to fire needles at her. Twinkle jumped out of the way, using her own force fields. She can call me a wimp, but it's easy to find out who the real wimp is. Don't listen to them, Lyra, Minwet said quickly. Just go to Twinkle and calm her. She glanced desperately around, then spotted a glass of water on the table. Her horn glowed, and the water disappeared. Then it came out of her horn and landed on the fire, extinguishing it. Do you remember the sleeping spell? Minwet asked, dashing toward Sparkle. Kind of, Lyra shouted, tackling Twinkle. Use it now! Both of their horns began glowing, and suddenly Minwet was levitated, and her breathing sped up, her heart beating quickly. She was feeling a sharp pain in her lungs as she gasped for air before being thrown to the floor. She glanced up to see Sparkle laughing and walking toward her, her horns still glowing. Oh, Minwet, didn't I tell you? You can't interrupt. You'll just make things worse for yourself. Sparkle smiled and then levitated Minwet's shaking body, moving her to the side and continuing towards Lyra. It's your turn. You can either get out of the way or get hurt. Lyra's eyes started watering. She didn't know what to do. There was no way she could let her hurt Twinkle, but she wanted to be popular and pretty and not so hated, and she didn't want to get hurt. I know. Hard decision, huh? Sparkle grinned, levitating Lyra and shaking her back and forth as she burst out crying. Baby, why do I even waste my time with you? Please stop, Lyra cried. Leave her alone, Twilight, Twinkle screamed. Sparkle turned her attention to Twinkle and levitated her as well. Don't mess with me, Sparkle said darkly. I'll always win, you see, because... Every pony stop! Right now! A loud voice rang out, and every pony turned to see who had said it. Princess! Lyra called to her, tears still falling. Moondancer's eyes widened as she walked in behind Princess Celestia. She couldn't believe everything that had happened since she left. Twilight Sparkle, why are you doing this? What are you doing? Did you... The princess exclaimed, looking around. I can't believe this. Put them down right now. Sparkle shrugged and let the spell disappear, watching them fall to the ground, terrified. I let you stay in the castle, come to my school, have a sleepover, and this is how you repay me? I am absolutely astonished by your behavior." "Sorry," Sparkle said, not moving. "Sorry doesn't cut it," Celestia said angrily. "I would very much appreciate it if you would go up to your bedroom and not come out until I tell you." "Whatever," Sparkle said with a bored tone, using her magic to disappear, and then appear on the other side of the flames. She trotted past the princess and out of sight. "Girls, what's happened?" Celestia asked, positively confused. Minuet sighed and started explaining, shakily getting to her hooves and leaning against the wall for support. After a few minutes, everything had been told, and Princess Celestia had cleaned everything up, and healed Twinkle's burns. "I cannot believe Twilight Sparkle would do such a thing," she said disbelievingly. "It's not her." "I know," Minuet said, eyes red from crying. Lyra was sobbing on the floor beside Minuet. Moondancer was frozen, shocked. She didn't move, her eyes huge. It was obvious who was dealing with it in a mature way. Twinkle walked up to Celestia and lowered her head. "Princess, I'm sorry I started it. She was making me so mad, and it was very immature." "Indeed it was, Twinkle. I am disappointed in you, but more so in Twilight, who resorted to use of her powers for evil instead of good. I expected better of her. If you would like, you may stay in the castle a while longer, or you can leave. I thank you all for staying, but please," Celestia said, sighing, "stay out of trouble." "We will. Thank you, Princess Celestia," Minuet answered for them, helping Lyra up and waking Moondancer from her frozen position. "I'll see you all on Monday," Celestia said, watching them exit the castle before relaxing. Now she just had to deal with Sparkle. Fluttershy's heart was pounding as Luna lowered her onto the soft grass. They both watched with wide eyes as the train went over the cliff. "That was close," Luna said, turning back to Fluttershy. "Are you okay?" I think so," she whispered, looking at her side where the element of magic had dug into her. "Ouch." "You're bleeding," Luna frowned. "What did that?" Twilight's element," she breathed, standing up. Fluttershy breathed, standing up. "What? Why do you have that? Did you take it?" Luna said angrily. Fluttershy squeaked and closed her eyes. No. She threw it in the trash. I went to talk to her, and..." Fluttershy broke off. We'll talk later. Is Jasmine okay? Did you save her?" "Jasmine? Who is she?" Luna asked, looking around. Fluttershy glanced at every pony who was laying on the grass. Jasmine wasn't one of them. "Jasmine! She's not here!" "Who's Jasmine?" Luna repeated herself, afraid of what had happened to her. She's a friend. She helped me make it to Twilight. I need to help her," Fluttershy exclaimed, rushing toward the edge of the cliff and looking down, seeing the train still falling, that's a big gorge, into the gorge below. "Jasmine is on that train!" Luna narrowed her eyes, and Fluttershy hurried to get on her back. "We have to go now!" I know, Luna said, jumping off the edge and flying down towards the train, which was picking up speed. "Jasmine!" Fluttershy called, her voice echoing. And there was no response, and her heart sped up. Soon they had reached the bottom where the train had wrecked, getting thrown on top of some rocks. Fluttershy quickly got off and started limping around, trying to find Jasmine. She flipped over stones, went inside the train, and Luna helped her look around the edges. She couldn't find her. "Fluttershy, maybe she got out," Luna thought. "We could go back up to the others," she suggested. "No, I have to find her. She's down here. I know it," Fluttershy said sadly, walking around more. She traveled further down the gorge and finally heard something. She used every ounce of energy she had to fly quickly toward the noise, then found Jasmine's body laying there, her breath coming and going. It was slowing. "Fluttershy," Jasmine said in a raspy voice. I remembered." "You remembered? What?" she said, lowering herself beside her and calling for Luna to come. Twilight, you said your friend, she's elements of harmony. Jasmine tried speaking, but only a few words came out. Fluttershy understood that Jasmine was talking about how Twilight was the element of magic. Yes, she is, and so am I. I should have remembered. You have to help her, Jasmine said, looking at her with huge eyes as she continued to breathe. I tried, but she got rid of her element. She didn't want it. She had thrown it away. That's why I have it. She thinks we hate her, and we've been replaced, Fluttershy said quietly, getting to her hooves and trying to roll the pony over. No, you can't give up, Jasmine breathed, her eyes starting to close. Get your friends. You have to save her. Jasmine, no! Don't close your eyes. Luna can save you, can't she? Fluttershy looked up desperately at the princess, who was starting to levitate Jasmine. She fell a great height, Fluttershy, Luna said, looking at her. It knocked the breath out of her. She fell on... Fluttershy looked down and saw some sharp rocks, covered with blood. No, please, you have to save her, Fluttershy said quickly, staring up at Jasmine. She doesn't deserve this. No pony deserves anything like this. But I can't. I'm not strong enough, Luna said, not believing in herself. Tia could, but me, I can't. I don't have that knowledge yet, and even if I did, it wouldn't work. I can't even raise the moon, which most unicorns could. But I can't. It's too late. She's already slipping away. Luna, just try. Princess Luna looked at Fluttershy, who was staring sadly at her. Luna looked back at Jasmine, whose breathing was slowing down even more. She pointed her horn at her, and it started glowing, spurting sparks. And then Luna looked away, eyes watering. I'm sorry, Fluttershy. I don't know the spell. Fluttershy squeezed her eyes shut and ran to Jasmine. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I'll be good. Save Twilight. Get elements. Only way to save Equestria. You can do it. I believe in you. Friendship is strong. You can. It is the only way. Jasmine heaved, looking up at her with a determined face. Be safe. Oh, no, Jasmine, why did this have to happen to you? Fluttershy cried, laying her hooves on Jasmine. I'm so sorry. I wish I could help. Be strong, Fluttershy. You are stronger than you think. Jasmine's head slowly fell back on the rocks, and Fluttershy burst into tears. Sobbing on Jasmine's body, Luna walked up beside Fluttershy and lowered her head, a few tears of her own falling. Once again you failed, Luna thought, except this time it's not just the sun coming up late. It has costed some pony their life. Oh boy, shit just got real. Yes, shit just got real. Yes, shit got very real. And I'm gonna be sort of like using that little new voice for Sparkle, because she's a bitch, and I think she's being controlled by personal thoughts. I think she's being controlled by Discord, so I'm gonna be using like another voice for her that wouldn't be the voice I try to use for Twilight, but I know I don't use it very consistently because I'm not good at using my voice consistently, because I'm not good with Twilight voice. I am very, 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 very bad with Twilight voice, and I don't really have much of a basis for any of the like most of that other just miscellaneous cast. So that whole scene with Sparkle being a bitch and just like igniting the room, I'm sorry if you got the voices confused, but I don't have any basis for the different types of voices that they would all have, and so I make them sound all very similar. I apologize for that, but I don't have any basis to just make up voices. So this is a long outro, but deal with it. Goodbye, every pony. See you in the next chapter.